Good day, everyone. It's another day on HackersNode. Today we are dealing with the topic the computer terminal. Before we dive in, please remember to like and subscribe to this channel and comment down in the comment section to tell us more we can do and what we can do to improve this channel. Thank you. Let's dive in. What is the computer terminal? The computer terminal, a terminal is simply a text-based interface to the computer. In a terminal, you can type commands, manipulate files, execute programs, and open documents. When working in a terminal, the current directory is called your working directory. A terminal will usually start in the top level directory of your account. Okay, let's dive in. A computer terminal. Let's take for instance, this is your typical computer interface. You want to relate with different files, where you can relate with different files. You want to open your Microsoft Word, for instance, or your code editor, Visual Studio Code Editor. You type it to your search bar and you run the program, and immediately the program comes up. That's what your graphics user interface is. And you want to navigate to your document files, where you want to open different files, you want to watch videos, you want to do different types of things, and that's simply your graphics user interface, where you relate with your computer, you run a command, you send a program, you do different things on your computer through your graphics user interface. So this another phase that we call this computer terminal. That is where we call the command line interface, the CLI. The CLI. What is the CLI? The CLI, that is command line interface. What is your CLI? The CLI is just what we are talking about, that is your computer terminal. This is the typical look of your CLI, the command prompt. So your command prompt, if you want to search it, you insert CMD and you have it, then you can run it. So this is your typical command prompt. So what does this your command prompt do? If you, according to the recap, that you want to work on your PC, you search your daily routine, you search, you open your games, you open your app directly using your command line, using your cursor bar and your keyboard and everything you want to do to execute a program on your computer. So basically what your command line does is typing a text, sending a simple command to your computer. Like, I want to open my Visual Studio Code, I can just type it code dot and boom, I will have my Visual Studio Code opening without me going to my start, without me typing Visual Studio and stuff. So I can open my application directly from typing a mere word. So that's what your command line developers, and a very large computer users that run a large amount of tasks for computer user. The advantage of this over the graphics user interface is that it is easier to navigate throughout the entire computer using the command line compared to using your graphics user interface. Let's take for instance, I want to open my computer, I want to go to my document file, I want to do things. It is very daunting and tiring. It is redundant in nature, I have to repeat the same process often and often just to open my document, to open my file. But that is a kind of stress before moving the cursor back and forth, up and down. That's a large amount of stress. So simply I can do that by just doing some mere things, like I can just navigate to any place I want on my computer using the command line and to run the program I want to run easily without any stress. That's the advantage of your command line over your graphics user interface. And this command line, the advantage, as I mentioned, it is very efficient and faster in relating with your computer for sophisticated computer user like software developers, software engineer, web programmers, etc. So as a developer, you have to understand your CLI. If you don't, you won't be able to move at the speed your peers are moving when you are collaborating on a project. So that's why we are here today, and we have different types of command line interface. This is called the command prompt. This is the default Windows command line interface from Windows, and we have the different type. We have another one called PowerShells, Window PowerShell. That's another command prompt interface or command line interface. They accept the same command that your command prompt interface is. It's just like an advanced command line interface. If you notice, we are having the same thing, they are not different. It's only the color that is different here. It is another default PowerShell, another default command line interface, which is PowerShell. So, and we have another one. We have the Windows Terminal or the Ubuntu Linux Terminal. The Windows Terminal is just a newly developed command line interface by Microsoft that is integrated into the computer. This is the command prompt. It is called Windows Terminal. This is just a newly developed Windows terminals for developers that really want to have a more fancy look for on their Windows computer. And this is simply an Ubuntu Linux terminal. And the Ubuntu Linux terminal, if we notice, we call it Linux. Linux is a separate operating system. So using Ubuntu Linux terminal on Windows, you have to install something we call Windows Subsystem for Linux. Windows Subsystem for Linux. And your Windows Subsystem for Linux is a Microsoft application that allows you to use an Ubuntu command line or Linux command line on your computer, on your Windows computer. So it is a newly developed software that allows you to do anything relating on command line, having a modern command line look on your Windows computer. So this is mine. It is called Ubuntu Linux Terminal. This Ubuntu Linux Terminal, I developed this myself. I have to design it myself, design the look that I want for it. Here is the default Ubuntu terminal. So it works like your Git bash. You can see the look after developing. So I have to have this look because it cannot work with this. It's just like your typical Git bash, command line. So it's just like your typical Git bash command line. So that's what your Ubuntu Linux terminal on Windows looks like. So I have to design what I want. I have to develop. I have to modify this Windows terminal and integrate Ubuntu Linux terminal on it and develop and redesign the look of the Ubuntu terminal to look like the real Linux terminal. So this is your Ubuntu Linux terminal. So let's dive in. So we have a simple typical thing here that we quickly have to discuss before we call it a day. So we have this C users and Cisco according to what we have here on this computer. So what does all this thing mean? Everything here has a meaning, and it is not just there for decoration. You have to understand the concept of each of them. So the first thing, this C is your local directory or let me call it your hard disk, your local computer hard disk where your operating system is stored on. So let's take for instance now on my computer, this PC, I will have look at the C, and you can see this window logo. What this Windows logo is telling us is that this partition size of the hard disk is where the Windows is installed. So if you notice, we have this C there according to what we have here, C. Okay, so it's simply the same thing with what we have on our file, that is our PC. So what this is telling us is that the directly is currently on is what we call the local disk C, that is the default computer local disk. And so because this system is not partitioned, adding in the hard disk has been partitioned, we can have local disk D, local disk E, local disk F, G, H. So that is, and what partition means is that breaking it down into breaking an hard disk down into different sizes for you to store more and more data on a different computer. And maybe you want to put your Windows on a separate space on the computer, you want to be storing some file on another space, you want to be storing some other files on another space. So that's what the partition is all about. And so because this PC is not partitioned, that's why we only have C, and this is the C. And after that we have the C, and later we have what we call the users. So what the user is what we is the number of users that are using the computer, like the user, or let me call it a directory that stores the list of the users that use the computer. Like let's take for instance, maybe while you are installing the operating system of this computer, you create another user, like more than one user. You have the super user, you have user 2, user 3, user 4, user 5, user 6. So this folder will contain all the list of the users on your computer. So, and how do we check that on our PC? We open the local disk, we see a file called user. On every Windows file you have this user. So if you open it, you have the list of user, you have the default user, you have the public, you have the Cisco. The default user is like the super user that has the computer, while the public is like a folder that is not belonging to any user. Like if I have to log into user 2 or user 3 on this computer, I can still see it. But if you have a file on Cisco and you have another user, maybe user 2 here or user 1, so if you log on to user 1, you won't be able to see the Cisco files, so you won't be able to see it. So if Cisco log in to Cisco and he wants to check user 1 file, he won't be able to see it on the computer. So that's what this user, and we have this Cisco that you're seeing, that is the current user of this computer, and we only have one user on this computer, that's why we are only having Cisco. So here's the directory of the list of the files that Cisco user has on this computer. So that's that on that. So let's just wrap it up, let's do a simple thing on our computer. So what I want to do now is I want to just try some things on my computer and see if I can relate with my PC. If you see our Cisco here, according to what we have here on the GUI, the graphics user interface, we have desktop. So I want to open this desktop and create a folder on the desktop page, like on my desktop, without me doing our redundant mode or our recursive mode of right clicking new folder. No, without me doing that. So I want to do that using my command line. So how do I go about it? So let me just say cd means cd, that is change directly, like change the directory that you are currently on and move to another. And remember, I forgot something. Your command line is like a tree, so it works on different level. Like, you know, you have the stem of the computer, you have the root, you have the root of the tree, you have the stems before you have the branches and before you have the leaves. So that's how the call command line work. It's like a tree that is, it works on from the main root to the stem, to the branches, and to the leaves. So that's how it works. So let me cd, that is, I want to change the directory. Change directory, that's what the cd is. Change directory. So I want to change my directory now to desktop, to my desktop page. Desktop, cd desktop. If you notice, we now have C, user, Cisco, and desktop on this computer now. So which means I'm currently on my desktop directory. That is, I'm currently here. So if you notice, we don't have any new file, we don't have any files much here unless this bookshelf. So I want to create a new folder on this desktop page. So how do I do that? On command line, on Windows command line, we can do that by make the mkdir HackersNode. dir HackersNode. So if you notice now, everything is, forgive me my bad, why I type this dir is meant for opening this folder. I didn't mean this folder has been created. So but this make dir now will create the folder for me, that is mkdir make directory. That is, I've make a new directory. So let me check if I have the directory now. Before I go to check that on my desktop computer, on my GUI, let me check if I have it. cd HackersNode, that is, change the directory to HackersNode, and fine, I have it here. So now let's now check on our computer system. Let's check our desktop now through D, and if you notice, we have it here, HackersNode. So that's how to make a folder on your computer, and you can copy, you can manipulate it, you can copy files to this HackersNode file, you can do anything, you can delete it, you can remove it, you can do anything that you like. So and stuff. So if we can do that as well on our on our Linux terminal, like I can just say cd mtcc, walk into no source file or directory, mtcc, no, so mtc user Cisco. If you notice, so I'm now in the directory. So I can change the directory to desktop, what I'm unable to do on my command line, because I'm much more conversant using my Linux terminal compared to using the Windows command line, because their design are different and their command key and command inputs are different. So let me do what I'm unable to do on my command line interface. Let me now do it on my Linux terminal. So let me create cd, let me cd to user, cd to users to desktop, sorry, my bad, desktop. So cd to desktop. So let me now make directory of HackersNode 2, HackersNode 2. Okay, cannot make a directory file. Sorry, we are trying to make a HackersNode 2, not HackersNode 2. So now I can have the directory, so I can cd to HackersNode 2. So we have it. So if we check our desktop, we have HackersNode 2 folder. So to remove these files, I've changed the directory to the HackersNode 2, so we cannot remove it. It will not answer because we are already in the directory. So to remove it, we have to change the directory back to desktop. So how do we do that? We'll just say cd dot enter. You notice we are back to desktop, so we can just say rm HackersNode 2, no such directory. So because it's a directory, so why is telling us that is because we are trying to remove a directory but not a file. So if you want to remove a file, that's when you can use your HackersNode. So if you want to remove a directory, so you have to add a strict command or dependency to it to let it know that it is a directory that I want to remove. And you said -r and you say HackersNode 2. HackersNode 2 according to what we have here, and you enter, so it will be removed. So let's check now. If we ls, we notice we don't have it on our desktop again. So if I can stay, you notice it is off. So that's how to make a directory and to remove it using your Linux terminal, or to delete it using your command line. So that's all for now, and I hope this session has been very productive and helpful to the viewers. Thank you, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and comment on a better way we can use to improve this channel, and we also accept collaborators. Thank you.